Hi everyone, it's Larissa from Plum Diddle, and today I'm going to teach you how to make these wet felted flowers. Wet felting is a really cool process. It's actually pretty easy to do, so I'm so excited for you to learn about it, and let's get started. So first, I want you to see some of the variety that we can make with this method of wet felting flowers. They all look so different. You can do lots of petals, you can do a few petals, you can do no petals but just one solid petal shape like this one here. But they're all so pretty and so unique. And I think it's crazy that these started out as loose, fluffy wool and they ended up this beautiful. Okay, now let's talk supplies. If you are working from a Plum Diddle kit, these are the supplies that already come in your kit. If you're not, these are the supplies you'll need. Okay, first is a large hand towel to go under your work area. On top of that is going to be a piece of grippy shelf liner. Next, you have 2 pieces of bubble wrap. One to go on top of your shelf liner and one set to the side. You'll also want your bamboo roller to the side, as well as your scissors, the 2 smaller towels for drying your hands, and your water sprinkler, which is also called a browser. Before you start felting, fill up your water sprinkler with about a cup of hot water and about a teaspoon of olive oil soap. The water should be hot to the touch, but not so hot that you're going to have a hard time handling it. You'll also need your wool roving candy. Once you're all set up, the first step is to pick your colors. You'll need a green for the stem, a center color for your flower, a main petal color, and an accent color for the outside. I'm going to use the same color for my center and for my accent, but you can feel free to get as creative with your colors as you want. Next, get out your green and form it into a log shape if it isn't already. Then use your sprinkler to wet the stem, leaving about 1.5 inches on one end dry. Okay, here's something you need to know. Whenever you're wet felting, there are 3 different pressures you can use. The first one is a very light pressure. Think about this as the amount of pressure it would take to gently cradle the baby bird. Almost none at all. Next is medium pressure, and this is still very gentle, almost like a gentle back rub. And last is firm pressure. When you're using firm pressure, you can be pretty tough on the wool. This can be like a very enthusiastic handshake. And anytime you are working with your wool, you want to start with the lightest pressure and then build up to firm pressure. So that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna start by gently rolling the wool across our bubble wrap. As you do this, watch for any spots that it needs more water added, as it needs to be very saturated at this point. After you've rolled it using your light pressure, move on to your medium pressure. Here's where you can actually put the weight of your hands on the wool as you push it across the bubble wrap. After you've rolled your wool with a medium pressure, we're just going to put it right in our roller. And we're going to leave that little tuft of dry wool out the top of the roller and use a very firm pressure to roll it in the roller. Roll it about 30 times with that firm pressure. Take it out, and then we're going to take that dry tuft of wool at the top and we're going to splay it out so that it's flat instead of pointed at the top of the stem. Keep the fibers very loose and fluffy. You can shape them a little at this point, but don't do too much to it. And then set it aside for later. Dry everything off real quick, and then we're going to move on to making our petals. Grab your colorful round template and put it under the bubble wrap layer, but on top of the grippy shelf liner layer, so that you can clearly see the shape of the circle. Then grab the colors you've selected for your petals. And we'll start with the color for the center of your flower. Hold your bundle of wool in one hand, and for this next part, you're going to be pulling tiny wisps of wool off of the bundle. Make sure you're only grabbing the very end of the bundle to keep the wisps tiny enough. Layer a few wisps of the color for the center of your flower at the middle of the template, so that the fibers are pointing outwards, like the rays of the sun. You don't need very much wool for this step, and your little tufts of wool can touch in the middle, but they shouldn't overlap. Once you have your center color down, you can move on to your main petal color. For this color, you will use about 1 package of roving in 2 different layers. To help your layers be even, go ahead and rip the color for your main petal color in half. With the first half, continue the same pattern that you were doing before, with the little tufts of wool going from the middle pointing outwards at the edge of the circle. But this time, make sure you're laying the wool down all the way to the edge of the circle. Complete a full layer all around your circle in this way. After you've used up the first half of your main petal color, use the other half to do similar little tufts, but this time going around the outside edge of the circle and then spiraling inwards. Create a complete layer for this step too. As you're layering your wool, try to keep in mind that we're building a pancake shape. So fill in any places that are looking too flat and smooth out any places that are looking too raised. When you're done with this step, you shouldn't really be able to see your template anymore because there's an even layer of wool over it. After this, you can lay down wool on the very top for your accent color. This will be the same as what you did for the center of the flower, with the wool going outwards like the rays of the sun again. And once you have that, it's finally time for the fun part. Take the sprinkler and wet the entire wool petal pancake. Try to get it all saturated. Then press down on the wool petal pancake to help it get saturated, and also to push out any bubbles. You'll notice on my petals that the dark spots are the wet places, so look for that on yours. You can carefully lift up an edge of the petals to make sure that the petals are wet all the way through, and add more water if needed. Now take that stem that we made at the beginning and place it with the flat fluffy side down at the center of the petal shape. You will want to have one hand holding it firmly in place for the next few steps. Wet the part of the stem that is now on the petals and repeat the process of pushing out the bubbles. Now with your free hand, grab your extra piece of bubble wrap and use it right where the stem meets the petals. Use your light pressure to gently massage for a couple of seconds. Then pick up your bubble wrap, move it over 1 inch, and massage that area. Repeat this process until you've gone all the way around the circle. Then go around again, this time using medium pressure. After you've gone around 2 times, massaging carefully every inch, you can carefully lay your stem down. If you imagine that your flower is a clock, start by laying the stem down at 12 o'clock, right at the top. Then place your bubble wrap over the entire flower and use both hands to massage your flower at firm pressure. When you massage or agitate your flower, make sure you do up-down motion, left-right motion, little circle motions, and swivel motions. Do this for at least 30 seconds. Then lift up your bubble wrap and move the stem to the opposite side at 6 o'clock. Repeat the agitating process with the stem this direction. Then repeat it again with the stem to the left at 9 o'clock and to the right at 3 o'clock. Now you have 2 options. If you want individual petal shapes, we're going to cut them now. If you want one solid petal piece, you can just skip this step. To cut your petals, cut down about 1 inch in from the edge. Keep in mind that during the next step, the petals are going to shrink significantly, so don't cut too many petals if you don't want them to end up being very small. After you've made the initial cuts, you can also round off the corners if you like, or leave them square. At this point, the fibers in your flower should be holding together fairly well, enough for you to carefully pick up the flower and sort of scrunch the petals into a closed flower shape. Now you can put the flower in the roller and roll it 20 times at firm pressure, focusing right on the petals. Take it out and spread out the petals on the flower. Then put it back in your roller and roll it another 20 times. This time when you spread out the petals, you can really pull them and stretch them to shape into the kind of petals that you're looking for. You can repeat this rolling and stretching process as many times as you need to until you like the look of your petals. But once you're happy with them, you're going to want to put it back in the roller one more time, but this time with the petals sticking out the top. And focus right underneath the petals at the seam. Roll that stem at least 30 times this time, and then you are done. You can use one of your towels to scrunch out any excess water that's still in your flower. Then let it dry, and it's ready to be displayed. The final rolling of the stem makes it really sturdy, which means you can display it in a vase or however you want. I hope you loved making this flower, and I hope you try some different combinations because there's really an endless number of ways you can do this, and they've all turned out so beautifully. One thing I love about working with wool is how it really has a mind of its own. So all of these flowers to me look like they grew that way, and I think that's so beautiful. Let me know how yours turns out. Happy crafting!